I had this whole thing planned out where I was going to talk about island gigantism and how King Kong really shouldn't be growing as big as he does. But the movie stated that he's from a cave in the hollow earth, so it ruined my plan. Kong, Skull Island, directed by Jordan Vogt-Roberts, starring Tom Hiddleston, Samuel L. Jackson, and Brie Larson. So Kong tells the story of a group of scientists and soldiers who come to an uncharted island in order to allegedly document and map the whole area out. John Goodman plays the leader of the scientist group known as Monarch, who knows that there's a giant ape living on the island, but he doesn't tell anyone because they'll think he's crazy. But by deceiving all the soldiers, he gets most of Samuel L. Jackson's company killed, so Samuel L. Jackson swears revenge on the ape and becomes the main antagonist of the movie. Yesterday, my brother asked me if I was going to like this one, because sometimes you can kind of tell, and I figured it would be okay. I knew I wasn't going to love it because it's a movie about a giant ape, but I also knew I wasn't going to hate it because of the setting and everything. So it was pretty on the fence as best I can get, as unbiased as I get, and I actually found that I liked this movie a lot more than just okay. It was a fairly solid, entertaining piece of film. They got things started off really fast. Like King Kong was on screen within a half hour. So I feel like they really learned a lesson from Godzilla, where Godzilla was on screen for something like 12 minutes, basically the average amount of time football is in play in a game of football. And so for this one, they had him on screen as much as possible. And the set pieces involving the giant ape were actually really clever and inventive. I've never quite seen a lot of it. But a lot of the dialogue and story points were very predictable. General rule of thumb, if I can guess what a character is about to say, it's not written very well. I should not have that ability. It's hard to pick a main character between Tom Hiddleston and like John Goodman or even Brie Larson, but mostly, I guess in the beginning it was John Goodman until Tom Hiddleston had to take over his team and actually start doing stuff besides flirting with Brie Larson, which is their whole dynamic was as soon as they see each other, they start flirting with each other, but pretend like they didn't know as soon as they saw each other that they were going to bang. There was no mystery with that whatsoever. There's no would they, won't they. I know what happened as soon as the credits rolled. Which, speaking of credits, there may have been an after credits, I think, but I didn't watch it because I don't have to explain that to you. Tom Hiddleston was good. He didn't have to do anything too tricky. It was just nice to see him with like facial hair and not looking like a doll. He actually had to be dirty, but like he's got too stiff of a posture to really be an action hero. You know, he's out there in the shit dealing with it like Rambo, but he still looks like Michael Fassbender's character in Prometheus, the robot. Real stiff and not natural in any way. However, I understand that he's probably charming and attracts people that way. Brie Larson was okay. I mean, this had a lot of characters in it, so it was hard for them to really give any one of them time to shine. I mean, if any of them were the real standout of the film, it would be John C. Reilly, because he was just an absolute joy to watch. He's always great. And I did catch on the back of his jacket, it said good for your health, but you just ignore the good part. It's for your health, from Dr. Steve Brule. But Samuel L. Jackson was actually pretty menacing in this. I honestly didn't think I'd think too highly of him because he does so much that I just don't pay much attention to him. Like, he's either a character I don't like or I don't notice him. There's never really been a Samuel L. Jackson character that I've really taken to. But this one, as a villain, he was actually really good. It could have done more of that for when he was in The Kingsman, because I didn't like him in The Kingsman. I definitely like the setting of the movie, how it was in the 70s, and I especially like the fonts for their subtitles. Not that it had subtitles, but like when they had a title screen pop up, Da Nang, whatever it was called. I remember the Vietnamese part, not the English part. I liked that font a lot, but I didn't like how every few minutes, at least for the first hour or so, they had to pull out a new hit song from the late '60s and early '70s, and which some of them I haven't checked and I have no way of knowing, but I think they might have been a little anachronistic for the time period. I feel like they were just trying to really beat you over the head with the early '70s because there's not a whole lot to tell you that other than the fact that they're all dressed like Vietnam soldiers. I mean, the thing told me it was 1973. I believe you. You don't got to keep playing it. But other than that, it was a fairly enjoyable, star-studded cast, which is really helpful to me. I think Godzilla kind of lacked on that because they were expecting me to care more about Aaron Taylor Fucknut than I actually did. And then they killed off, Bryan Cranston way too early. There was another romance blossoming. It was between Jing Tian's character and Corey Hawkins' character. And just throughout the movie, they were shunted together because they were the nerds. But by the end of it, they were a little too close for my comfort. So Toby Kebbell was in it doing a terrible Southern accent, but he also was the monkey. So that it's like you get a double whammy out of him, Yeah, I'd say it's kind of how I assumed that Tarzan movie that came out last year was just passable, okay, not blowing anyone's minds, but a solid entry to their burgeoning monster franchise. I certainly liked it a lot more than I liked Godzilla.